Show you how we can build a city with lots of overlapping buildings without even having to use an eraser, like, ever. In fact, I'm going to use a marker. So what we're going to do is we have to start with the little buildings, and then we're going to overlap buildings on top of that. Okay? So I'm just going to start off with rectangles, because buildings are rectangles. Sometimes they're tall rectangles, sometimes they're long rectangles. But I'm just going to start off with 3 smallish rectangles that fill my paper like that. Why don't you go ahead and start off with 3 smallish rectangles. For you? Okay. Now, everybody should have 3 smallish rectangles. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to show you like the mess up page and the good page. So I'm going to show you what kids sometimes do when they don't know any better. What sometimes kids do when they don't know any better, I need everybody looking up here, looking at the screen, is we say, okay, we're going to build a whole city. I want you to build lots of buildings behind the other buildings. So what they do is they start building more buildings. And then that doesn't look like buildings, does that? It just looks like it's kind of stacked up cake or something. What you want to do when you stack up buildings behind each other is I'm going to do medium-sized buildings now. And you start somewhere in the middle of one building, and then you go over, and then you come down in the middle of another building. Then you do that somewhere else. No, don't draw yet. Watch a couple times. Now watch this, because your buildings are going to get taller and skinnier the further back you go. Now over here, I'm going to have a building that's going to be kind of next to and behind. I'm going to go in the middle and over, and then it's going to go all the way down to the ground, and that's okay. Now these front buildings are going to need doors, and you can have it be one door like that, or you could even do like kind of like a shopping building like Target or Walmart or a school or something like that. Or you could even have 2 skinny doors like this. And you know what? I'm going to have a door on this building too, even though it's behind another building, but we still are going to see its door, aren't we? Now we're not going to get too hung up on putting in windows and stuff, because we're going to do something else with this town. But that's how you build a building. Now it looks like I have a ton of buildings in here, doesn't it? But when I count, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can you believe that I only have 8 buildings showing? But it seems like I have a ton. So even with just 8, I'm going to go ahead and make it a nice even 9 buildings showing. So I have 3 in the foreground, 3 in the middle ground, and 3 in the background. And when you think of it that way, it doesn't seem like much. But when you look at this, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a whole city. I'm going to put a building a really skinny building way back in the background. Oh my gosh, it's so far away. Now one thing, let's go back to our bad example here real quick. So let's say you do get going and you're kind of going the right way here. One thing that people sometimes do is they then just start going like this. And that's not quite right either, is it? No. Or sometimes what they'll do is they'll come up here and then they won't watch where they're going, and so stop too soon. And then it just looks like a giant chimney. So you always want to make sure that when you go over, you always go past that building before you come down. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and build somewhere between 8 to 10 buildings. No more than 10 buildings in our city. All right, so here I've done a fresh new city. And what you're going to do is you're going to get out your crayons and outline each building with a different color and then add a happy little face and other details. So you're going to see how I'm going to build up this city so it's very Rizzi-like by adding lots of different colors and lots of different faces and details and windows and doors and all kinds of fun things. So here I'm going to add some windows. I'm going to add big rectangles and a door and yellow rectangles, and then I'm going to add in some details. Like here's a little plant that I'm going to add, and then like, I don't know, maybe I'll add in like a person or something over here waving. It's kind of hard to get really small details with crayons. But you know, you can try. And then I'm going to just color in the rest of the windows a nice bright yellow for yellow windows. Now the ones that are close to us, the buildings that are closer to us, will have nice big windows, and then the ones that are further back, the tall skinny ones, will have smaller windows. But the faces will be the same because, you know, this is just a happy funny thing. So see, like back there, my windows are just these little rectangles. Alright, but up here, where it's a closer building, I can see more of the window because it's closer to me. So I'm going to try to add like a couch and a TV here. I don't know, it kind of works. And then fill in the rest with bright yellow light. Fill in all of these with with yellow light. Not every single building has to have a face on it. Most of them should, but you don't have to have every single one. You also want to make sure that you color your eyes in white. So actually use a white crayon to color the whites of the eyes. I forgot to do that until after painting, and then I started to accidentally paint in my eyes, and so I had to go back and use my white. You'll see that later in the video. So as you can see, I'm just filling in all kinds of funny faces that are like looking at each other and looking at other things that are going to show up in the background. Filling in my doors and my windows, but not coloring in the actual building itself, because we're going to use paints for that later. Okay, so adding a face over here, and he's going to look at something in the sky that I'm going to add later. Adding another face over here that's also looking down at the building that I just drew, and he's like surprised at what he sees. And then this building over here, I don't know, what is she going to have? She's going to be looking over here at the same thing. So, you know, just filling that in. And then when you're done, you can start on the details in the sky. So one last face here. And actually, you know what? I'm not going to do a face. I'm just going to do windows. And those are just little like dashes that I make really hard with my crayons. Let's see, I'm going to do a traditional bright yellow sun in the corner, right? Because this is just a happy little city. I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to do a little alien over here, a little waving green man over there. And I fill in the white so that my paint doesn't get it. And I also am going to fill in white clouds. You can't see that yet. And a little airplane, and I'm going to add some eyebrows, and this is also a great time to color in the whites of my eyes. Eyebrows are very expressive. By adding eyebrows, you can really show emotions. Now, you're done with your crayons. When you're done, you pick them up, put them back in the box so that they are all in the same spot, ready to go. Alright, so now we're going to paint. When you start painting, first dip water, just a couple drops of water in each color you're going to use. That way you'll have a nice rich color when it's time. You also might want to have a tissue, toilet paper, or towel standing nearby. In case the paints get on your crayons and don't really come off, you can kind of blot it off.
So I did an orange outline here, which is why I'm painting my thing in red. Now for my pink building, I'm just adding lots and lots of water in my tray and a little bit of red, and that makes it pink. And then for my red building, I don't add a lot of water. And so that really makes the red a deep, rich color red. So see the difference between the pink building and the red building? That's because pink is just a light shade of red. And we're going to use the tray to mix colors. So I want a red-orange because I outlined the next building in a red-orange. So use the tray and you put a little blot of color in the tray. And then another little blot of the other color in the tray to mix it. And that's how you mix colors with watercolors. These types of paint you always mix on the tray, never inside the actual paints themselves. Alright, so see now I've got a really red-orange there, and I put more water in it to make it more of a lighter color. And see, this is when I realized that I should have colored in all of my eyes, all of the whites of my eyes, because paint kept getting inside of my little whites of their eyes. So I just went back and I just did it. But if you already did that, then you're fine. You're good to go. So just don't forget to do that, because otherwise you have to go back and do it. All right, I'm going to clean that up just with my paper towel or tissue. And now I'm going to do a deep purple. And then later I'm going to do a lighter purple so that you can see the difference between pulling the paint straight out of the colors and then adding it there. So here I made a turquoise by adding green and blue. Lovely little turquoise there. Mixing my colors only on the palette. Cleaning that up. Alright, now is that light purple. So I get lots of water, a little bit of purple in there, and it makes a very light purple. I'm going to speed this up into super duper fast forward mode so that you can just see what it looks like when it gets finished. You can take 2 days to finish this, so it does not have to be done today. If you want to spend today just drawing in the details and then tomorrow painting it in, that is fine. Or you could spend today just making the city and then draw in the details tomorrow and paint it in. That is fine too. So it is a 2-day project. So I expect that you will spend about an hour to an hour and a half on this. I cannot wait to see your James Rizzi cities.